when your hard-won wisdom becomes a wall. The email came during your morning coffee. Dad, I got promoted to regional manager. Your son had finally landed the leadership role he'd been working toward for 3 years. But instead of just hitting reply with congratulations, you found yourself typing a detailed message about the challenges of managing former peers and the importance of establishing authority early. You deleted it, rewrote it, deleted it again. Or maybe it was the moment at the family barbecue when you caught yourself explaining to your son-in-law again why his approach to refinancing their mortgage wasn't optimal. Perhaps it was when your golf buddy stopped asking for your opinion on his retirement investments because, as he put it, "You always make me feel like an idiot, Frank." That uncomfortable recognition, the experience and insight that made you successful in business, might be driving away the people you care about most. You've spent decades learning hard lessons, building expertise, developing judgment that comes only from years of making mistakes and figuring out what works. Your ability to see problems before they happen, to cut through confusion and get to the heart of issues, served you well through decades of leadership and decision-making. But somewhere along the way, your wisdom started feeling like criticism to others. Your guidance became lectures. Your desire to help became a need to be heard. This is the story of what happened when Saul's incredible experience and passionate conviction nearly destroyed the very community he was trying to build, and why your own hard-earned wisdom might need some careful recalibration. Immediately after his dramatic conversion and healing, Saul began preaching in the Damascus synagogues that Jesus is the Son of God. Acts 9:20. Picture this. The man who had arrived with arrest warrants was now standing in their religious gatherings, passionately defending the faith he had come to destroy. The congregation was stunned. Wait, isn't this the same guy who was dragging our friends off to prison? Didn't he come here to arrest us? But Saul was just getting started. He grew more and more powerful and baffled the Jews living in Damascus by proving that Jesus is the Messiah, Acts 9:22. Every sermon was a masterclass in argumentation. Every debate showcased his formidable intellect and deep knowledge of Scripture. He was using the same commanding presence and persuasive abilities that had made him a feared enforcer, just pointed in the opposite direction. And that's exactly when the trouble began. His preaching was so intense, so relentlessly convincing, that it wasn't drawing people to faith, it was creating enemies. After many days, there was a conspiracy among the Jews to kill him, Acts 9:23. They posted guards at the city gates day and night, waiting for their chance to eliminate this brilliant, overwhelming convert who wouldn't stop proving he was right. The great orator, the commanding presence who had always dominated every room he entered, had to be smuggled out of town in a basket, lowered through a hole in the wall, Acts 9:25. His greatest strength, his ability to win every argument, had become his greatest liability. But the pattern didn't stop there. When Saul arrived in Jerusalem eager to connect with fellow believers, the disciples were all afraid of him, Acts 9:26. His reputation preceded him. His intensity hadn't become more approachable since his conversion. If anything, it was more focused than ever, explaining that yes, his conversion was genuine, Acts 9:27. Think about that. Now required an intermediary just to be trusted by his own community. He debated with Greek-speaking Jews, and they tried to kill him too, Acts 9:29. Same gifts, same intensity, same results. More opposition than influence, more conflict than community. The solution was as painful as it was necessary. The believers sent him away to Tarsus, Acts 9:30. And here's the remarkable result. Then the church throughout Judea, Galilee, and Samaria enjoyed a time of peace and was strengthened, Acts 9:31. The community flourished when the powerful voice stepped back. Let me tell you about Robert, a man who lived through his own version of this story. He'd survived 3 recessions, managed through multiple company mergers, and built a reputation for seeing financial risks that others missed. Retirement should have been a relief, but Robert found himself struggling with relevance. At family gatherings, He'd offer detailed analysis of his kids' career decisions. He'd send her spreadsheets comparing neighborhoods by property tax rates and school rankings. Robert would launch into a comprehensive breakdown of why 90% of new businesses fail. He wasn't trying to be discouraging, but his family started including him in fewer conversations about their lives. His advice felt more like judgment than guidance. The wake-up call came during a phone conversation with his son about a job opportunity. His son finally interrupted. "Dad, I didn't call for a financial analysis. I called because I was excited and wanted to share good news with you." Robert realized he'd turned what should have been a celebration into a lecture. Like Saul needing time away in Tarsus, Robert had to learn when to step back. How do you feel about the opportunity? Instead of, here's what you should negotiate. He practiced celebrating his family's decisions before analyzing them. Robert still catches himself mentally composing detailed emails about his grandchildren's college fund strategies. But he's learning that wisdom isn't just about what you know. It's about when and how you share what you know. Both Saul and Robert discovered something. When you've spent decades being the person with answers. Does this sound familiar? But point out the flaws in every plan your adult children share. Maybe you're the grandfather who sees exactly what your son-in-law is doing wrong with his career. Maybe you're the friend whose business wisdom has earned you respect professionally, but seems to create distance personally. They're valuable assets. They can cause damage when used without discretion. Using his leadership skills to create anxiety instead of confidence. Is using his expertise to shut down their autonomy instead of building it. Is using his knowledge to silence others instead of empowering them. The most powerful thing experienced men can do is step back. It was preparation for a more effective ministry that would come later, but because of it. Instead of sharing your analysis, try asking about their feelings. Instead of explaining what they should do differently, try celebrating what they're doing well. It means learning to share your wisdom like a skilled craftsman shares his tools. Carefully. Your family doesn't need your opinion on every decision they make. Sometimes they just need you to trust their judgment, validate their efforts. The most encouraging part of Saul's story is that his time away wasn't wasted, that would ultimately reach far more people than his early, overwhelming preaching ever could. It's proof of the kind of wisdom that comes only with maturity, recognizing that having the right answer matters less than building the right relationship. Barnabas had to physically escort Saul to the apostles and vouch for his character. Saul, who had never needed anyone's endorsement to command respect, even after being accepted, his approach kept creating problems. Not as punishment, but as protection for everyone involved. After 35 years in corporate finance, Robert had earned his stripes the hard way. When colleagues had questions about investments, market trends, or business strategy, they came to Robert. When his daughter mentioned house hunting, when his son talked about his startup idea, he genuinely thought he was sharing valuable wisdom earned through decades of experience. After Robert spent 20 minutes explaining why the offer wasn't as good as it seemed, the line went quiet. He started asking questions instead of offering solutions. It wasn't easy, and has to resist hitting send. Crucial. Expertise without invitation often feels like criticism. It's hard to recognize when people need encouragement more than instruction. Maybe you're the dad who can't help but can't understand why your helpful observations aren't appreciated. Your experience, analytical skills, and hard-won judgment aren't character flaws, but like any powerful tool, the successful executive who micromanages his adult son's job search is the experienced investor who critiques every financial decision his family makes, a wise patriarch who dominates every family discussion. Here's what both stories teach us. Sometimes Saul's time in Tarsus wasn't a failure. The church's season of peace wasn't despite his absence. You might need your own Tarsus season, a deliberate period of practicing restraint. Instead of offering corrections, try expressing confidence in their judgment. This doesn't mean hiding your experience or becoming passive. When invited, and with the goal of empowering others to build something themselves. Your friends don't need you to solve every challenge they face, or celebrate their successes without immediately pointing out how things could be improved. Those years in Tarsus, learning to temper his intensity with wisdom, prepared him for a ministry. Your willingness to examine how your strengths might be creating distance isn't evidence of failure. What about you? Which of your hard-earned insights might be overwhelming the people you're trying to help? When might your experience come across as criticism rather than guidance? How could you use your wisdom to build others up instead of pointing out where they might be going wrong? The goal isn't to waste the knowledge you've gained over decades of life and work. It's to become a more skillful version of who you are. Someone whose experience creates connection rather than distance, whose guidance empowers rather than overwhelms. The people in your life need your wisdom offered with humility, your insights offered with permission, and your experience offered with gentleness. They need you to believe in their ability to learn and grow, even if their path looks different from the one you would choose. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do with everything you've learned is to step back and let others find their own way forward, with your support, not your direction. Reflection. Questions. How do I share the wisdom I've gained over the years? Am I using my experience to empower others or to prove my expertise? Which relationships in my life have become strained because I can't resist offering guidance? Who needs me to trust their judgment instead of correcting their decisions?